what was the process of you actually doing stand-up?
I'm going to UC Davis, and I'm living in the dorms, and everybody's telling me I'm funny and just kind of giving me confidence. And so I'm writing down jokes. I'm just like, I decide I'm going to spend a couple of months just anytime I say something that makes somebody laugh, I'm going to go write it down. And that's the advice I give to anybody who's starting stand-up still to this day. Like, just anytime you say something funny, write it down. It might not even make sense to you right then, but just jot it down. So I did that for a couple of months. And then I started trying to figure out like where I could get on stage. And I called the San Francisco Punchline, and I talked to the manager at the time, and his name was Hutch. And Hutch said, I go, hey, so how do you guys have like an open mic night, or how's that work? And he goes, have you been on stage before? And I go, no, and he goes, but you're fun at parties. Like, totally beat me to it. And I was pretty moted. So I said, yeah, basically. And he goes, all right, well, we're having a thing on Monday. The Holy City Zoo had just closed. So in honor of the Holy City Zoo, they were doing like a zoo night at the Punchline on a Monday. And you could come down and get a set on the Monday. And I brought all my friends from college with me because I was in the dorms, and everybody said, oh, you're funny, and let me know when you're going to do it. And I was an idiot. To anybody thinking about doing stand-up, go by yourself. Don't bring your girlfriend. Don't bring a bunch of friends. Go by yourself. Anyway, I brought all my friends, and we go to the Punchline, and we make a big deal of it. We have dinner beforehand, and we're all in the club, and I'm sitting with my friends, and one of the waitresses comes over, and she goes, let me take your drink orders. And I said, hey, I'm one of the comics. And she goes, how come you're not hanging out with the comics then? And I didn't realize how stupid I was till later. But anyway, she said, the comics are back there. Maybe you should go talk to one of them. But I was a little nervous at that point. So anyway, I kept checking in with Hutch though to see when I could go on. And basically, if you're a young comic who brings a bunch of friends with you, they're not going to put you on early. They're going to wait until, because they know that your friends have to go to work the next day and that they want to leave. So they're not going to put you on early, because then your friends will leave. So they're going to drag it out as long as they possibly can. So the whole show goes on where I'm thinking I'm going to get a set. And then at the very end, they go, hey, you're not going to get a set, but you can be part of Joke Parade, where all the comics who are there who didn't get a chance to do a set get to go up and tell one joke. Right? I mean, it's a good hour and a half, 2 hours in traffic, everybody piled into one car, all my friends to come watch me do this.
Dinner, drinks.
And like, we're building this up. Like, after tonight, I might not ride home with you guys, because the president of show business might need, I'll be getting in his limo, clearly, if this goes well. So I get to do one joke. And I had this list of jokes that just, funny thoughts that I had. And I decided to go. There was a guy who would sell stuff late on late night TV. He'd sell inventions called Ron Popeil.
Sure.
Yeah, and it was just a joke about Ron Popeil, about the girl next to him. The lady next to him would support anything that he wanted to pitch. Like, it wouldn't even matter what his idea was. She'd just go along with it, like whatever. He could be like, I'm gonna shit on your head, and she'd be like, he's gonna shit on my head. That's the joke I went with, and it tanked.
Really? It's funny.
It's funny now because I gave it better timing, but like at that, man, it fucking tanked so hard. And just that was my thing. That was my chance, and I had to walk back off stage, and we get to your friends. And then after the show, my friends said the worst thing you can possibly say to a comic after a set is, how do you think it went? Yeah. So, but the silver lining is that night, the best comic on the show was a guy named Chris Hobbs. And I don't know if you've ever met Chris Hobbs, but He's a great comic from San Francisco, and he was a god that night. And we just couldn't believe how funny Chris Hobbs was. And I got up the balls to walk up to Chris after the show and just kind of talk to him. And he was super cool. And he didn't see my set or wasn't acting like he did see. Anyway, he said to me, he goes, "Oh, where do you live?" And I said, "I'm going to Davis." And he goes, "Oh man, if you're near Sacramento, I know a guy who runs an open mic. His name is Mo Better Man. Go find him. He does this thing at this club and on Wednesday nights, and go tell him that I sent you to him, and it'll be a good way for you to get stage time in Sacramento." And that was everything. That little tiny piece of information. I like the next week I went and found Mo Better Man, and he had a Wednesday night show at a club called Old Ironsides, and then he had a Thursday night at the bar upstairs from Laughs Unlimited. So that was 2 nights of comedy that I could do every week.
Just from your going out with your first time. Do you still use that appeal joke?
No, I never told on stage again. I mean, it was hard. But I decided that night I'm gonna bury myself in Sacramento, and I'm gonna just do open mics at bars and coffee shops until I figure out what I'm gonna, till I figure out how to do this. And I'm not gonna show my face at the punchline again until I have a solid set to bring to the table, because that was so embarrassing. And it was such a long drive back that night with all my friends. Just that 2-hour drive back to Davis with my girlfriend and her and my roommate and his girlfriend, and just like all the dude, it was brutal. But I always tell this to young comics too: if you want it bad enough, you will keep showing up. And I wanted it bad enough to keep showing up, so I just would go to do. I went and found Mo Better Man, and that Thursday night upstairs from Laughs Unlimited became my regular gig, and I met all the other comics in Sacramento because of it, and it led to other stage time. And yeah.
So
and
would you say some of your wisdom there is don't get on a professional stage until you have solid material?
Don't get on a professional stage until you have you're only new once. So just go hide somewhere and work your shit out, and then show up and have everybody go, "Who the fuck is this guy?"
That's Dan Gabriel.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And then by the time I went back to San Francisco, nobody remembered that. I mean, nobody remembered that one joke. I mean, I'm sure 10 other people went up and their one joke ate it. I just had built it up.
You never heard the story Bobcat Goldthwait tells of being in the back of that room and he saw a young Filipino boy in front of a crowd of 150 of his best friends, holding it up to be able to tell one joke that everyone stared at him and said, "We're never eating lumpy again because of that joke."
That actually would make me feel better if Bob Goldthwait was there and he remembered it as like this poetic moment. But no, it was just me